ABPLIVE. I'm Megha Prasad and you're watching Namaste World. Now, despite the sound and fury from Washington and Red Fort over Donald Trump's punitive trade tariffs, and despite the vicious comments from Trump's advisors, and despite the optics of India finding solace in the arms of US enemies in Tianjin, one thing has surprisingly never actually gone off the table, and that is the India-US trade deal. All was going well with the trade talks, and New Delhi and Washington had held 5 rounds of negotiations. But the 6th round of talks, scheduled for August 25th to 29th, was postponed after Trump imposed the 50% trade tariff on Indian goods, including the 25% as punishment for purchasing Russian oil. The tariffs came after India, the world's 5th largest economy, resisted opening its vast agricultural and dairy sectors. Bilateral trade is worth more than $190 billion each year. Nevertheless, talks on the deal did continue quietly, even as Trump's advisors continued to bark threats and abuses. The talks continued weekly at diplomatic levels, between the trade officials, between chief negotiators, and even between ministers. And those quite delicate, drama-free talks seem to have borne fruit, as have the public dramatic climb down by Donald Trump and the measured and graceful response by Prime Minister Modi. Significantly ratcheting down the tension, Donald Trump said last week that India and United States are continuing negotiations to address the trade barriers, expressing confidence that there would be no difficulty in achieving successful outcomes in the discussions. In a response, just hours later, Prime Minister Narendra Modi stated that both nations are natural partners and will collaborate to ensure a brighter, more prosperous future. And late on Tuesday night, on the eve of PM Modi's 75th birthday, Donald Trump sang an even sweeter tune, putting aside weeks of hostility over India's continued purchase of Russian oil, wishing the Prime Minister and publicly acknowledging New Delhi's commitment to peace. On Truth Social, Trump expressed his sentiments enthusiastically, and I quote what he said: "Just had a wonderful phone call with my friend Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I wished him a very happy birthday. He is doing a tremendous job. Narendra Modi, thank you for your support on ending the war between Russia and Ukraine." Unquote. PM Modi, as always, responded with grace on X. He said, and I quote, "Thank you, my friend President Trump, for your phone call and warm greetings on my 75th birthday. Like you, I am also fully committed to taking the India-US comprehensive and global partnership to new heights. We support your initiatives towards a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict." Unquote. This exchange came on a day a trade delegation from the US, headed by Assistant US Trade Representative for South and Central Asia, Brendan Lynch, met Indian Commerce Ministry officials in New Delhi in the first face-to-face discussions between the two nations following the collapse of high-stakes negotiation for a trade agreement. After Tuesday's meeting, a statement from the Ministry of Commerce and Industry said, and I quote, "Acknowledging the enduring importance of bilateral trade between India and the US, the discussions were positive and forward-looking, covering various aspects of trade deal. It was decided to intensify efforts to achieve early conclusions of a mutually beneficial trade agreement." Unquote. Hours before the trade delegation landed in India on Monday, India's chief negotiator and special secretary in the Ministry of Commerce, Rajesh Agarwal, told the reporters, and I'm quoting again, "India and the US have been engaged in talks at various levels, and we will be holding talks to see what the future of talks will be." Unquote. Also ahead of the trade delegation's arrival, President Trump's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, who has in the past called India the Maharaja of tariffs, told CNBC, and I quote, "India is coming to the table." Prime Minister Modi sent out a very conciliatory, nice, constructive tweet, and President Trump responded to that. "We'll see how this works." unquote. Now, this statement of Peter Navarro is absolutely incorrect because it was and it is the US in the last 10 days who has initiated whatever conversation has happened between United States and India at the level of the President and the Prime Minister. Before the talks, India's chief negotiator Rajesh Agarwal said it is not the sixth round of negotiations, but it is definitely discussions on the trade talks. There have been discussions going on, but we were not progressing much because of the overall environment was not conducive. Now we see that there is a window. These talks will be a precursor to the sixth round of negotiations, unquote. The US negotiator visit came at a time when Indian exporters have started to feel the pinch of Trump's tariffs. Exporters are seeing losses as US importers have started to cancel orders, as importing from India now is significantly more expensive than importing from other nations. The Indian government is formulating a relief package to alleviate the immediate liquidity challenges faced by exporters, but officials are reported to have run up against differences of opinion within the government regarding the most effective approach to tackle the issue, as the precise impact remains unclear. In the meantime, the exporters have also met Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra, requesting a variety of support measures, from a weaker rupee and more lenient loan repayment terms to credit assistance aimed at helping them diversify into alternative markets. While there is certainly a softer and more accommodating tone to the trade talks now, India is unlikely to move back from its red line of Russian oil and agriculture, the two sticking points that have stalled the talks in the first place. India has made it very clear that it will continue to buy oil from Russia. Earlier this month, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman reiterated what Dr. Jaishankar had said before, that India's oil purchases are driven by economic and commercial factors. As the world's third largest crude oil consumer, India relies on imports to satisfy approximately 88% of its needs. As for the other sticking point, agriculture, the US wants India to allow American genetically modified products into the Indian farm sector, something Indian farmers have historically opposed. Farmers have not only resisted the introduction of foreign agriculture products, but also have advocated keeping agriculture out of the World Trade Organization. Now, Prime Minister Modi has also been categorical in his stand on Indian farmers, notwithstanding the trade pressures from the US. During his Independence Day address, Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasized that India will not compromise on the welfare of its farmers, its fishermen, and its cattle rearers. He said, and I quote, "It is our top priority. Modi stands resolutely against any adverse policies that could affect these groups," unquote. But for all that, there is no denying that 50% tariff are hurting India, and hopes are high for a favorable trade deal. At 50%, India and Brazil have been hit with the highest tariffs imposed by the US. Nevertheless, even if New Delhi were theoretically inclined to comply to Trump's demands, as India in the past has agreed to US requests to halt imports of Iranian and Venezuelan oil, doing the same with Russia presents a more intricate tangle. Keeping aside the financial implications, the repercussions of yielding at this juncture, especially after Tianjin, may not actually be on the table. Thanks for watching.